In 1947, over 1 million people were killed. Around 14 million were displaced. Families were erased. Homes were abandoned. Entire cities emptied overnight. It was one of the largest human migrations in history. And yet, no trials were held. No commissions delivered justice. No leaders were jailed. No reparations were paid. Not then, not later, not ever. So the question isn't, what happened in 1947? The real question is, why was no one punished for it? When violence happens at this scale, history usually responds with accountability. After World War II, there were trials, there were verdicts, there were consequences. But in 1947, nothing. The killings were labeled riots, communal violence, unfortunate consequences of partition. Notice the language. Not crimes, not responsibility, just events. Millions suffered. But officially, no one was guilty. Let's be clear, this wasn't random chaos. There were decisions, deadlines, maps drawn in haste, borders announced with no preparation, warnings were given. Administrators knew. Police forces were insufficient. Armies were being divided. Communities were already tense. And yet, the timeline wasn't slowed. The plan wasn't paused. Protection wasn't arranged because speed mattered more than safety. Why? Because accountability was never meant to happen here. Punishing someone for 1947 would have required something uncomfortable. Admitting failure. And failure was inconvenient for everyone involved. The departing rulers wanted a clean exit. New leadership wanted legitimacy, not trials. Neighbors wanted stability, not blame. The world wanted closure, not complexity. So silence became policy. Files were buried, narratives were softened, responsibility was blurred, history moved on. The victims didn't. When no one is punished, the cost doesn't disappear. It just shifts. It was paid by families who never returned home, children who grew up in refugee camps, women whose stories were never recorded, men who were reduced to statistics. They didn't get justice. They got instructions. Move on. Don't reopen wounds. The nation must heal. But wounds don't heal when they're ignored. They rot. Because 1947 was never confronted, trauma became generational. Silence became tradition. Pain became private. No official apology, no acknowledgement of failure, no acceptance of responsibility. And when history doesn't punish violence, it teaches a dangerous lesson: that suffering can be absorbed, that displacement can be normalized, that human cost can be written off. Once that lesson is learned, it doesn't stay in the past. The question that still has no answer. 1947 didn't end with independence. It ended with silence. And silence protected everyone, except the people who lost everything. So when we ask, why was no one punished for 1947? The answer is uncomfortable, because justice required courage. And silence was easier. And the price of that silence is still being paid.